Hey guys, I'm gonna go over 5 tips to help improve your audio quality, whether you're doing client work, run and gun style shooting, corporate interviews, outdoor, noisy environments. I'm just gonna go over 5 tips that I've picked up over years of experience doing videography full time. First, I wanna talk about what gear you actually need. So I've got a lot of audio gear, I've got an entire case full. I'm not gonna go too in depth, I'm just gonna go over the basics. The most important for anyone, I think, is wireless microphones. I think these are the most versatile, the most useful. I've got the Wireless Pro Rode mics right here. These record 32-bit audio internally, which means you can't clip, which is very useful because that pretty much just keeps you from getting that distorted sound when something gets too loud. The second most important one is a shotgun microphone. So it's one of these on-camera microphones which picks up clean audio in front of the camera because the microphones in the camera sound horrible. This is the camera audio on my A7 IV, how's it sounding? Now we're switching back to the NTG5 right here. So you can see a big difference there between the two. So shotgun microphones are great at picking up directional sound at a bit more of a distance. Wireless are made to use close proximity. You can also get boom mics like I'm using right here. I've got the NTG5 boomed up above me. Now this is my go-to for interview setups because it's gonna give you the most natural, highest quality sound. So you look at these little wireless microphones, they're great, but sometimes because they're so close to your mouth, they isolate the voice too much and it kind of sounds like it's a voiceover, like it doesn't sound like you're actually in the room, which is why I love shotgun microphones boomed up because it's gonna add a bit more of that room sound and it's gonna sound like it's more natural. It's not gonna sound distracting with background noise because they're very directional, but it's gonna add more of the feel that you're actually in that room. These kind of isolate the voice so much that there's no feeling of where you are, what kind of environment you're in. And also these microphones are tiny. Look at the shotgun mics. They're a lot bigger, higher quality. So when possible, I use shotgun mics for higher end interviews, anything like that. In louder environments, I'll opt for the wireless mics because I know it's just gonna isolate their voice really well. Okay, so let's get into the first tip. Get the microphone close to the person. It's depending on the situation, sometimes you can't get close. Microphones perform better if they're close to the person. The voice is gonna sound better, it's gonna isolate them more from the background, and pick up less background sounds. So right here, I've got the NTG5 as close as I can, just out of frame. So I put this up about, like, see how it's just out of frame? I try and get it as close as I possibly can to my mouth because I know it's gonna sound the best the closer it is. Now that goes with any microphone. The closer to your mouth, the better. Obviously you don't wanna have it too loud where it's gonna clip. You just have to turn down the gain, but the closer the better, so keep that in mind. So if you're doing interview setups or anything like that, you want it just out of frame. Now when you're running wireless microphones, on the shirt is great. Personally, I prefer a bit lower on the chest. What I'll do is go a little magnet. And I actually like to have them a bit lower on the chest. I don't like them right up on the neck because you do run the risk of it pressing against the neck and then you can get a distorted sound if it actually presses against the neck, which isn't good. So you don't want that. So if someone's wearing like a really tight shirt or something, getting a magnet and having it a bit lower on their shirt will sound better. And wireless microphones just sound better a bit lower too because you're gonna get more of that deep chest type sound, which you want in the voice. And then also you run less risk of clipping if it gets too loud. Tip number 2 is choosing the right gear for the right situation. So sometimes a simple wireless microphone is the best for the situation. Sometimes you're in a run and gun type situation, you don't know where the person's gonna be. The background might be kind of noisy. Lav mics are great and I use these in probably 90% of situations. But there are times where you don't wanna use them. Certain situations, like maybe gym workouts and things like that where someone's working out and talking at the same time. Depending on how loud the gym music is and that, sometimes it's better to go with a on-camera shotgun mic because if someone's working out and they're sweaty, they might hit the mic with the dumbbell. It's not always optimal to have a microphone on them. Or higher budget work or like interview setups, it's actually gonna sound better if you have a shotgun microphone. It's gonna bring in more of that realness, the room feel. And it's gonna give you more quality. If you get a decent shotgun microphone, it's gonna give you higher quality in the voice. And there's certain setups where the clients might be very nervous and they don't want to wear a wireless microphone. So then I just opt for a shotgun or a boom. Tip number 3 is controlling the space and being aware of your surroundings. So with shotgun microphones like these boom mics, they're very directional. Whatever direction you point them, they're gonna pick up exactly what's in that direction, right in front of them. They're very good at isolating what's in front of them and blocking out the sides. But one thing you gotta pay attention to is what is behind the person. If you're pointing a shotgun mic at someone's mouth, but there's something really loud behind them, like maybe some trees blowing in the wind, there could be a river, it could be people having a conversation right behind the person. Do you really want to be pointing the shotgun mic at the client, but then at the background as well? Because you got to pay attention to what's behind the client. If you can, try and get the client to face away from the noise. So for instance, if there's a river behind the client, let's say, if you're using a boom mic, maybe instead of putting it down at the client, you might want it lower towards the ground and pointing it up at the client, because then it's going to be pointing at the sky. Same thing, if there's trees in the background blowing in the wind, you want it pointing down at the ground because it's going to pick up less of the trees. It's very easy to forget this. It sounds simple, but it's very easy to forget it when you're focusing on lighting, framing, and the client's in a rush. You forget about the background sounds. It can make the audio a lot more distracting. Also pay attention to overall background sounds, like, is the aircon on? Is it loud? Is there a fan on? Can you turn it off? Are there conversations happening close? How echoey is the room? Is there too much reverb? Can we move to a different location? All these things you gotta think about to get good audio, because good audio is very important in video. You can get away with a little bit iffy video, but if you've got shitty audio, it can ruin the video. So yes, you have to pay attention to framing, lighting, camera settings, everything, but also try and pay attention to the background and how the audio is sounding. And that leads me into my next tip, is monitoring the audio. So this is very important. This can save you from so many mistakes, so many things that happen that you just don't realize. I can give you some examples of times where this has saved me. Personally, I like to use these little earbuds. These are I forgot exactly what they are. They're like the Mi Pro something. But these little earbuds right here. So they're just corded in-ear earbuds, but they isolate the sound really good and they're pretty high quality and easy to chuck in your backpack. So I take these everywhere with me and I can plug it directly into camera or into the wireless mics and monitor the audio. Now, I just want to give you a quick example of when monitoring the audio has saved me. So there was one time during an interview setup, we were swapping people for testimonials. We swapped the live mic to another person, started recording, we got 1 minute in. So I put the headphones on and realized the live mic wasn't even turned on. I forgot to turn it on. Now, that's something that I probably wouldn't have even noticed if I didn't put the headphones on. It's a rookie mistake, but it happens to everyone. There's gonna be times where you think about so many things at once and you forget to plug in a cord or you forget to turn something on. Or another example, which is really good, there was another client I was filming for a testimonial and the mic was on their collar and it looked all good, but then I realized they had a chain. They had a thin chain behind the mic, and every time they moved, the chain was tapping against the mic. It was creating a pretty distracting sound, which would have ruined the audio. But lucky I was wearing the headphones, I picked it up, I said, hey, can you just move your chain? Can you move the mic? And that's something I would not have picked up on unless I had headphones on. So monitoring your audio is essential for picking up any mistakes and also just getting good audio. Making sure the levels are good, making sure that the voice sounds good, making sure there's no loose chords, there's no, like, the audio's not being pressed against their neck. Like, there's so many things that could happen, and I think monitoring your audio is essential. Now, the 5th tip is recording a backup. Have a backup recording. Every interview, I have a backup recording, so I have the live mic on the person, and I have a boom mic above them. Or if it's a more run and gun style, I might have a lav mic on them, and then I'll just have the shotgun mic on the camera itself. Because at least I know if something does happen to the lav, I can fall back to the shotgun, and it's gonna sound good enough. Again, there's a lot of times that having a backup audio recording has saved me, but it's not only talking about having a backup microphone. Yes, that, but also, if you get some wireless microphones, most new wireless microphones now have internal recording. I think this is essential to have on. I think everyone should have this turned on all the time. So when you take these out of the case, the little red light appears and that means that they're recording internally. There's been times where this is actually cut out. There's been like a frequency interference and they've cut out, and I was able to go onto the microphone itself and get the internal recording off it. I'm not gonna go into too many examples, but there's been so many times where having the internal recording has saved me because maybe the frequency's cut out, maybe I forgot to plug the cord into my camera. Sometimes things have got too loud and it's clipped inside the camera. I'm able to go on here, get the 32-bit recording, and get all that information back from that clipped audio. Because if you clip the audio in camera, but you recorded 32-bit internally, that internal recording won't clip. Like 32-bit audio is very hard to clip, so most likely you're not gonna clip this. So if something goes too loud and it sounds distorted, maybe you accidentally had the volume up in your camera way too loud and someone's talking, you go back to editing and you realize the whole thing's in the red. They're clipping the whole time, it sounds horrible. If you had the backup recording internally, you can save it all. So that's it for the video. Let me know if you got anything out of this. Also, let me know if you want to see more videos like this. I'll see you guys in the comments. Peace.